Cardinal Napier, thank you so much for joining us on this platform. And congratulations on your appointment. You will be representing the Pope. How did this appointment come about?
I was in Rome for the, what was it? The Pope's funeral and the election of the new Pope. And at some stage, I met up with Cardinal Turkson, and he said to me, he had been asked to come to Ghana in that capacity. But since he was from Ghana himself and had been Archbishop of Cape Coast, he felt it wasn't quite appropriate that a Ghanaian should represent the Pope for a celebration in Ghana. So he turned to me and he said, well, would you consider it? So I did consider it, and I said, okay, I'll give it a go, not knowing what it meant or what it was going to entail. And that's how I ended up with the appointment coming through.
I think that's quite typical of Cardinal Turkson. He likes to, he comes across as though whatever he's saying is just something light, something simple, nothing major.
Something simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And next thing we are reading all over the news.
And it comes out that it's much bigger a thing than I ever thought it would be. I thought it was just a matter of being there and just sitting in a seat and saying a few words here and there, but it's much more than that, I can see.
So let's talk about it. So far, what we know is that you're going to Ghana to represent Pope Leo, and this was made public some 2 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Let's talk about this event. Yes. It is the Golden Jubilee of Cape Coast Metropolitan Archdiocese. Let's talk about this event.
And it's also the establishment of the Ghanaian hierarchy, which was just a year ahead of our own establishment of our own hierarchy here in South Africa, which was a year later. I think it was 1951 when ours was established. So it's always, Ghana was always in the forefront when they, I think they're one of the first countries to get independence and so on, you know. So it's always been Ghana in the forefront, and I think it's well from that point of view. I'm glad to be able to be part of the celebration because we were one of the last to get independence.
Yeah. So what does it mean to be a papal representative to such an event?
I am going to find out, Sheila, and I'll tell you when I've done it. Well, look, for one thing, it's from the state's point of view, they are looking at placing me in the same capacity as a vice president of a country, which means then that there are all these security things and what you call protocols of various kinds that they automatically observe. I'm going to experience it for the first time, I must say. I did once represent the Holy Father. It was Pope John Paul II, I think it was, when he made Cardinal Korai, a cardinal in Lesotho. And of course, Korai was too ill to travel to Rome. So I was delegated to install him as a cardinal in his diocese in Mohalishoek. That was the first time. And on that occasion, I thought it was just the African way of doing things. I had a police escort from the airport, motorcycles, and I don't know what not. And they were speeding like mad. I mean, if that's what a diplomat has to go through, I don't want to be a diplomat.
So you'll be getting some sort of a nuncios welcome, if one can put it that way, just to describe for those that don't know much about it.
Yeah. It's very much from a civic point of view. It's an honor, a special honor that the welcome would be marked by special honors. But I'm told that the airport is only about 5 minutes drive from the nunciature, so it won't be that much of an ordeal. Whereas from Lesotho, it was from the airport outside Maseru at Roma, right down to Mohalishoek, which was a good drive. 45 minutes to an hour drive, and at high speed, with the horn hooting all the time, and the motorcycles chasing everyone off the road. It was quite something. I was most embarrassed, I can tell you.
Well, Cardinal Napier,
But I'm sure
this one, yes, go ahead.
I'm hoping that this one isn't going to be quite as dramatic.
Well, Cardinal Napier, we are all very happy and proud to know that you'll be representing not only the Holy Father, but the Church in Southern Africa at this level. You'll be representing us at this double jubilee taking place in Ghana. So it is a jubilee. We are living in the jubilee year of hope and also in a synodal church. What message will you be taking to the church in Ghana?
You know, I was thinking very hard about what to say. And then I was struck by when we celebrated the Great Jubilee of the year 2000, Pope John Paul had a very nice way of doing it. He said, let's remember the past with gratitude, live the present with enthusiasm, and then we can face the future with confidence. And I think that's the kind of message I would be building on, that message of his. That while we're looking back to the past, let's look at the things, the great acts of mercy, the acts of goodness that God has done for us, that He's enabled us to do. And they should be the building blocks upon which we construct our present efforts as a church to be what we're supposed to be. And because we've got that background of things that God has done for us and we're grateful for them, we are committed to making the situation better where we are in the present. The future we can face with confidence. And I think if you compare that with our South African political situation, you can see how badly off we are. And I think that's how I'd like to see the church in Ghana, as being in a shape that it has contributed a great deal to what the country is today. If I'm not mistaken, Ghana was one of the first countries to get independence. So this is also, I think, at this stage, one of the first countries to have the hierarchy established in the way that it was in 1950 in Ghana.
And now to my last question. You just recently returned from the Imbisa Plenary Assembly, which took place in Manzini Diocese in Eswatini. SACM has outlined one of its key points, synodality, to live out synodality during the next years following their plenary assembly. Imbisa has followed in the same footsteps. SACBC has also followed in the same footsteps. So what will you be saying to the church in Ghana, which is also quite involved in promoting synodality? What would you be taking with you in terms of synodality based on your recent experience?
I would think that, our history as a church here in South Africa was one that was marked by phases of awareness that suddenly came upon the bishops and changed the course of the direction in which they were going. I will remember always how in 1975 or thereabouts, they had embarked upon a program which was about renewing the church. And then came 1976, the Soweto riots. And the church found itself having to readjust what it had planned to be. And one of the things that it discovered when it was looking at the realities of South Africa was 80% of the clergy at that time were white, and 80% of the congregations were black. And the bishop said, we've got to get a pastoral plan that's going to bring all those two factors together and bring more black people into the priesthood and religious life and so on. And that's how the pastoral plan came to be entitled Community Serving Humanity. So the first objective was if we're going to be a church that's really going to be effective in South Africa, we need to have to live as a community. Not long after we got that pastoral plan into action, this African Synod, the first session of the African Synod in 1994, that one came into being. And here we had the church in Africa described as the family of God in Africa. So I think the Holy Spirit is obviously guiding us in the direction in which we need to go so that we fulfill what his mission is for us. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let us allow the Holy Spirit to continue to guide us just as it was during the 16th Assembly of the Synod of the Bishops, that we were led by the Holy Spirit in everything that we did in those sessions. And so precisely what you say, going forward, the church, as a church, we should really allow ourselves to be guided by the Holy Spirit. Any last remarks before I let you go?
One of the things, Sheila, that I think we need to really pay a lot of attention to, and it's something that Pope Leo did. That he was elected on Thursday evening. He celebrated a Thanksgiving Mass on Friday, and he met with all the cardinals on the Saturday. And this was the format in which his meeting took place. He came in, said an opening prayer, gave an address, then asked us to observe 5 minutes of silence, to listen to what the address was and to hear what the Holy Spirit was saying through that address. And then he said, gather yourselves in 4s and 5s, identify a number of things that you want to bring to my attention, and then one of you reports on what your group has said. Now, that was a very simple example of how synodality needs to operate. And in many ways, with our pastoral plan here in South Africa, with the small Christian communities, we are ready made for this synodal approach. Unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of conversion on the part of priests and others who have always seen themselves as the one leader and nobody else can show the way forward except themselves. I think that's one of the big challenges we have. So I'd be looking out for it in Ghana to see how they are handling the synodality question and how the community, the small communities in particular, how these operate and how effective they are being.
Surely the people in the church in Ghana is looking forward to hosting you, to having you. We have been seeing the banners, the flyers that have been circulating on social media with your face on it. So surely the church in Ghana is awaiting for Cardinal Napier and looking forward to the message that you bring to the church in Ghana. We wish you all of the best.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sheila. Thank you very much indeed. And may God bless you in your work of propagating the news about the church and what is happening and how the positive things are being highlighted. I like that about the way you're doing things. Thank you.